Thank you. Madam Speaker, c'est un honneur pour moi de pouvoir parler du projet de loi.
It's an honour for me to speak to Bill C-49 today.
And Labrador have relied on the oceans industries. Others across Atlantic Canada have too. It's what we know. It's who we are. And it feels somewhat historic when we talk of the Atlantic Accord. If you're not from Atlantic Canada, you might not realize the significance of this agreement, particularly for Newfoundland and Labrador. The Atlantic Accord is fundamental of the respect and recognition shown between the federal and provincial governments. It was an agreement signed in 1985 that bound the Government of Canada and the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador to a common understanding that the people of our province are the principal beneficiaries of their offshore oil and gas. The Atlantic Accord recognized what my province brought into this country. It recognized the historic resource strengths of Atlantic Canada. And today, it recognizes that strength for the future. Because now the Accord will apply to renewable energy, to wind energy. Newfoundlander talking about wind, it may come as a surprise that this is neither a joke nor a complaint. We have huge opportunity harnessing wind in our offshore. Wind that will power not just the grid, but some groundbreaking hydrogen projects. The province knows it, the private sector knows it, we know it. It's why we're working so closely together to manage and develop that resource. This bill represents a moment of opportunity. And out my way, we know to seize opportunity when it comes your way. Times were bleak after the cod moratorium, until first oil, until Hibernia, until we started to build our offshore. I remember first oil. We weren't entirely sure we knew what we were doing, but we knew it was possible. We knew it could be done. And jointly managed and regulated through the soon-to-be former CNL-OPB, we stayed the course, and people prospered. We did this in one of the harshest environments in the world to operate in, but we found a way. We always do. More importantly, we built up one of the most skilled labor forces the world has ever seen. And people noticed. Companies noticed. Much like they're looking to us now. In 2019, we renewed the Accord. We established a Hibernia dividend for the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, $3.3 billion of secure, long-term and predictable payments that run from 2019 to 2056. More importantly, we recognize the province as the principal beneficiary of its resources. Now it is time to renew the Accord again. In fact, to call these amendments to the Accord, it kind of feels wrong, because what we're talking about here really is a natural evolution, because the world is evolving, because where we get our energy and how we get it is evolving, and we got to evolve with it. Now is the time to renew the Accord again. The Atlantic Accord will include renewable energy, so Newfoundlanders and Labradorians can be the principal beneficiaries of that too. We are not losing what we have built in the offshore. We are proud of it. The people of my province, the government there, are hand in glove when it comes to the energy mix. We accept the world as it is. We embrace it. We applaud the engineering skill that built a West White Rose gravity-based structure, because it is the same skill that will construct the wind turbine monopiles that are stored right next to it in our Gentian, Newfoundland. Think about all the jobs that come with this work. As Minister of Labour, I certainly do. When we have a good management structure in place, the more projects we attract and build, and the more jobs they bring. And they are good jobs. Right now, there are oil and gas companies across Canada that are making sure the expertise of our workers can be used to build new renewable energy projects. And we're going to need every worker we can get, because big things are happening. And they're happening quickly. And so they must be managed properly. They must be managed as they always have been in the past 25 years of remarkable success that our offshore has benefited from. Madam Speaker, it is with great pleasure I tell you that by passing C-49, we will secure Atlantic Canada's future and Newfoundland and Labrador's birthright to be reckoned in the global offshore wind and renewable energy sectors.
The Honourable Secretary, on a point of order.
Not so much a point of order as we're hoping the Honourable Minister could look down at the note that was just provided to him, perhaps, and he may wish to split his time.
I'd like to keep going.
Go right ahead.
Let me go back. Let me add a few points. I'll go back to my page here because I don't want to cede any time on this, Madam Speaker. I have worked too long and too hard on this Atlantic Accord in both its renewed nature in 2019 and the $3.3 billion that we were able to get for the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, as they should, as I am excited about what we are doing right now with Bill C-49. Because what we are doing now is we are taking a trusted structure, something that business knows, something that the industry knows, something that workers know, that through the Atlantic Accord we have built up agencies that provide investors stability, that they know what they're dealing with. And now, as we build a very exciting new chapter in Newfoundland and Labrador's energy industry, we want to make sure that those things still guide our way. That those things that we worked so hard to build through the Atlantic Accord and the CNLOPB, with names that I think would be familiar to all sides of this House. John Crosby, Bill Marshall, Brian Peckford, progressive conservative governments from both Ottawa and from St. John's that together worked very hard to make it happen. Brian Mulroney, Pat Carney. These were people who had vision for this province and vision for what was at the time a very nascent industry. I grew up, Madam Speaker, on a rock in the middle of the ocean. And if you grow up on a rock in the middle of the ocean or in a town in Labrador like I did, both, you can't afford ideology. Can't afford it. You grow up seeing the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. You accept the world as it is. You're clear-eyed about it. Between the Minister for Rural Economic Development, the member for Avalon, the member for Bonavista Burin Trinity, the member for Labrador, the member for St. John's East, we knew the Accord would need to reflect the change of the times. As companies and markets look to renewables, Newfoundland and Labrador needs to be well managed. It needs to be well positioned. And when it comes to energy, Newfoundlanders and Labradorians don't need to play catch-up. We're leaders. We like to lead. Even our province's Oil and Gas Industry Association, its biggest champion, NOIA, Newfoundland Offshore Industries Association, they changed their name to reflect this global shift in energy. It is now Energy NL. I was meeting with them just yesterday at the World Petroleum Congress in Calgary. Sustainability and reducing emissions has become the name of the game. They realize that. They know it. They embrace it. So Energy NL's vision is a sustainable and prosperous lower carbon energy industry. And this bill is going to change another name. The Canada, Newfoundland and Labrador Atlantic Accord Implementation Act will become the Canada, Newfoundland and Labrador Atlantic Accord Implementation and Offshore Renewable Energy Management Act. With all this wind, including the wind I just used, we are now seeing big hydrogen projects on our doorstep. First of their kind facilities. When I was Natural Resources Minister and we were developing Canada's hydrogen plan, never did I think that I would be standing on the tarmac of Stephenville Airport on the west coast of Newfoundland and seeing the German Chancellor's plane landing with the CEOs of Siemens and Mercedes-Benz to say, we could invest anywhere and create a green hydrogen industry, but we choose here. We choose you. Because you're well managed, you're well regulated, and because you have the best workforce in the world. If you haven't been out my way, let me tell you, we got wind. The winds off the Atlantic coast rival those of the North Sea, which is the birthplace of the world's offshore wind industry. This gives Newfoundland and Labrador and Nova Scotia a once-in-a-generation opportunity to become leaders in an energy sector of the future, to support our region's industrial future, to create good jobs that will exist for generations to come. It's expected that the offshore wind industry will attract $1 trillion of investment by 2040. You would have to be out of your mind to think Newfoundlanders and Labradorians and others across the country aren't going to be ready for what's to come. We're talking about renewable energy here. That's good change coming. Change always makes some people anxious. But this is not about politics. This actually is about the market. Industry understands something that skeptics don't.
the world is looking for renewable energy, for wind, for solar power. So we can sit on our hands and let those industries be built in other countries, letting workers in other countries get those good jobs. Or we can get in on the ground floor and make sure that it's workers here who get those jobs, that it's Canadian workers, that it's Atlantic Canadian workers, that it's Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who get that work, that they're the ones, that we're the ones who will be selling renewable energy to the world and taking home the profits. By passing C-49, we will secure Atlantic Canada's future as a force to be reckoned with in the global offshore wind and renewable energy sectors. Merci beaucoup.
Questions